Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. We are diving straight into a feeling I know we've all had at least once. You know that chill you get gripping the steering wheel late at night on a dark, completely empty road? Today, we are unpacking the dark realities and terrifying myths of America's most feared highways. We've got the hard data, the true crime, and the local folklore all mapped out. Let's get right into it.
So, I want you to really think about this for a second. When you're driving down an isolated stretch of pavement surrounded by nothing but pitch black, what is actually making the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? Is it the very real concrete danger of the road itself? Is it the thought of human predators maybe lurking at the next exit? Or is it something else, something unexplainable hiding just past the reach of your headlights?
Well, here is our roadmap for today. We are going to cover 1. The architecture of danger, 2. Predators on the pavement, 3. Isolation and vanishing acts, 4. Highway hauntings and legends, and finally, 5. The psychology of fear. All right, Section 1. The architecture of danger. Because honestly, before we even touch on ghosts and monsters, we absolutely need to talk about the literal, physical threats baked right into modern American urban design. Just wrap your head around this single, staggering number for a second: 7,522. According to data from Smart Growth America, in 2022 alone, cars killed 7,522 pedestrians across the country. That is a massive 75% spike since 2010. You see, our roads aren't just terrifying because of reckless drivers. A lot of them are fundamentally built like racetracks. They are wide, incredibly fast, and completely unforgiving if you happen to be out there on foot. And a huge driver of those fatalities is this concept called a strode. It's exactly what it sounds like: a dangerous mashup of a street and a road. Take Florida's US 19 down in Pasco County, for example. It is a textbook strode. You've got local businesses lining the sides like a normal neighborhood street, but the cars, they're absolutely flying by at 60 miles per hour. There are virtually no crosswalks. Between 2001 and 2016, 137 people were killed just trying to walk there. It literally forces pedestrians to gamble their lives against high-speed traffic. And unfortunately, US 19 is definitely not alone here. Look at the overseas highway in the Florida Keys. It has practically zero shoulders, pitch black nights, heavy traffic, making it a literal death trap for cyclists. Or up north, the Hempstead Turnpike on Long Island, where heavy traffic and zero bike lanes force people into a daily game of roulette. Then you have intersections like White Plains Road and East Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. You mix wide lanes with terrible visibility under those elevated subway tracks, and it creates a perfect, deadly storm for pedestrians. Okay, move into Section 2, predators on the pavement, because bad infrastructure is definitely not the only tangible threat out there. Let's pivot from the cold, hard asphalt to a much more chilling reality: the human predators who actually use these isolated stretches of road to do the unthinkable. Take California's Route 74, widely known as the Ortega Highway. Now, it's famous for its gorgeous mountain scenery and these crazy hairpin turns that, sadly, claim a lot of motorcyclists' lives. But the truly horrifying part of its history? It was literally used as a dumping ground by multiple serial killers. Infamous murderers like Randy Kraft, Patrick Carney, who is known as the trash bag killer, and the freeway killer, William Bonin. They all took advantage of the dark, isolated curves of the Ortega Highway to hide their victims. Absolutely chilling. Which brings us to Section 3, isolation and vanishing acts. Let's shift our focus from the mountains of California to just how vulnerable an isolated traveler really is. We are looking at the haunting reality of people who simply vanished into the dark, leaving absolutely nothing but an empty vehicle behind. Just trace this terrifying string of disappearances along U.S. Route 29 in Virginia, widely known as the Route 29 corridor. This nightmare started back in 1996 with Alicia Showalter Reynolds, whose remains were later found in an isolated field. And get this, witnesses actually reported an unidentified stalker in the area who was flagging down women driving alone. Over the years, the corridor saw more young women vanish, including Morgan Dana Harrington in 2009, Alexis Murphy in 2013, and Hannah Graham in 2014. Now, while some of those later cases were solved and convictions were made, the dark shadow of that original unidentified Route 29 stalkers still completely looms over this highway.
And, isolation isn't just dangerous because of predators, it's dangerous because of the sheer vast emptiness of it all. Take the incredibly eerie case of 19-year-old Brandon Swanson. Back in May 2008, his car was discovered abandoned in a ditch near Porter, Minnesota. The doors were left wide open, the keys were entirely missing, but Brandon, he was just gone. Despite massive, sweeping searches, he remains missing today. It's a terrifying reminder of how quickly the vast nothingness of rural roads can just swallow someone completely whole.
All right, Section 4, Highway Hauntings and Legends. So when you combine that deep, dark isolation with sheer exhaustion, the human mind really starts to play tricks on you. Let's step away from tangible crimes for a minute and explore the supernatural legends born right out there on the asphalt. Out on the Devil's Promenade in Oklahoma, locals have reported seeing this mysterious floating orb for generations. They call it the spook light. The romantic local folklore claims it's the spirits of two fleeing Quapaw lovers who jumped into a river to avoid capture, or maybe a ghostly miner wandering around with a lantern. But the actual science? Well, researchers, including a big study by Popular Mechanics back in 1965, proved that the light is actually just distant car headlights refracting from a highway miles and miles away. But honestly, as those researchers noted, we all kind of want to see something from another dimension, don't we? Down in Florida, however, history literally got paved over. There is a quarter-mile stretch of Interstate 4 known as the Dead Zone. Here's the story. Back in 1887, a yellow fever outbreak wiped out a family of German immigrants, and they were buried in a small, unmarked plot. Fast forward to 1960, the government buys the land to build I-4. They were supposed to carefully relocate those graves, but right then, Hurricane Donna hits, and the eye of the storm passes right over the site. In the mad rush to get construction back on track, the graves were just covered with dirt. And ever since, drivers report phantom static on their CB radios, total dead zones for cell service, and this overwhelming deadly urge to swerve. Wildly enough, on the very first day the road opened, a tractor-trailer crashed right above that exact gravesite. Then you have New Jersey's Clinton Road, which is pretty much legendary for paranormal activity. One of the biggest rumors out there is this terrifying druidic temple hidden just off the road, supposedly used for dark, supernatural rituals in the woods. Well, let's go ahead and debunk that one right now. It's actually just an abandoned iron smelter built way back in 1826 called the Clinton Furnace. Today, it's just fenced off by the Newark Water Department for basic liability reasons. So not exactly supernatural, but still super creepy to stumble upon in the pitch dark. But the wild legends of Clinton Road definitely don't stop at an old iron furnace. Locals completely swear by the folklore of the Ghost Boy Bridge over at Dead Man's Curve. The story goes that if you place a quarter in the middle of the road right at midnight, the ghost of a drowned boy will return it to you or, push you into the water if you peek over the edge. Add to that the constant reports of phantom pickup trucks chasing drivers and strange hybrid creatures lurking in the trees, which people say are escaped animals from a nearby shut-down theme park. And yeah, you have a recipe for pure, unadulterated panic. Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, the psychology of fear. We've seen the deadly infrastructure, the real-life crimes, and the local ghost stories. Let's transition into our final act and tie all these real-world dangers and spooky legends back to the one thing connecting them all: human psychology. You see, the real reason our minds tend to betray us out on the open road comes down to something called highway hypnosis. When you're driving those long-haul stretches, your brain gets lulled by hours of silence and repetitive motion. You get sleep-deprived, and what happens is your tired brain actively starts searching for patterns in the dark. It misinterprets shadows and completely amplifies your deepest fears. Suddenly, an ordinary reflection in the trees becomes a phantom hitchhiker. You aren't really fighting the road anymore. You are literally fighting your own exhausted mind. Because of this, we want to leave you with some highly actionable, expert-backed safety tips, because surviving the mundane, physical threats of the road is absolutely crucial, and statistically, way deadlier than any ghost. First, cut the distracted driving. Keep your eyes up. I promise your playlist can wait. Second, rest thoroughly before a long trip to fend off that highway hypnosis. Third, always keep emergency water and supplies in your car, especially if you're heading somewhere isolated. And finally, monitor the weather like a hawk. Mountain passes and flat plains can go from beautiful to deadly in a matter of minutes. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a lingering question. The next time you find yourself driving down a long, empty highway, white-knuckling the steering wheel at 2 a.m., what is it that truly scares you? Are you afraid of the unexplainable spirits of the past? Or are you afraid of the psychological tricks of your own mind, the crumbling infrastructure beneath your tires, and the very real monsters who might be driving the car right next to you? Think about that on your next road trip. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay safe out there and keep your eyes on the road.